This is Glenda, and I wanted to show you how to make these soap pine trees. To make them, I'm using soap dough, and I will put more information on that in the description box. It's pretty much cold processed soap, but it hasn't been exposed to the air, so it remains soft and pliable. And these embeds could be used either in another cold processed soap as decorations, or also they could be used in melt and pour soap. What I made first was a triangular shape, which is what you see in the background, and it's just a rough triangle. It doesn't have to be very exact. And then I made a rectangular shape, and from this rectangular shape I am cutting small triangle pieces from the bottom like a fringe. For this, ideally I should have used an X-Acto knife. It would have worked better. However, any knife will work as long as you're careful with it. And what I'm doing now is that I'm trying to attach it to the triangular shape by just smearing it with my finger and sort of like mix them together. So the first layer is done. Now I'm going to just repeat the same process, except I'm gonna work on a smaller pieces to cover the rest of the pine tree. And it should just be 2 more layers actually. This one will go in the middle, and then I just need a very small one to go on the top. Now in the link that I'm going to include in the description box, there will also be another link to a place where you can buy soap dough already made. B. Liara from Sorcery Soaps actually makes it for sale, and she also has books with recipes on how to make it, so I recommend you check her out. If you have a tool, you can also make sure that the leaf effect is a little bit raised to give it a better look. In this case, I just used the same cutter and my fingers to sort of perk them up a little bit. Another way to make soap pine trees is the one that I'm going to show you next. On this one, I'm going to start by creating like a flat piece of the soap, and if you have a roller, that would be ideal. I didn't have one with me handy, so I just used my fingers to flatten a piece of soap, and then I just cut the edges in a diagonal shape to create the triangular shape. Then I'm using the blade to make tiny small cuts of like to give it that shape. First I just made horizontal cuttings, and then I came at an angle to remove a semi-triangular shape out of them. And this is just to give it that, you know, classic pine tree shape. This is going to be like the background piece of the tree. So this one is going to be slightly larger than the one that I'm going to do next. And I'm just going to repeat the process and just do an exact pine tree shape like this. Now, if you were happy with this, this could just be your pine tree. It could just be 2-dimensional. And if you didn't want it to be more 3-dimensional. And I plan on putting this on the soap, just laying down so they don't stick up too much. In the past, I have put them vertically. However, when you do that, you just have to be careful when you pack it or if you're going to ship it, because it does tend to be more breakable. It's more fragile. Anything that is standing up on the soap will be more subject to breakage. So my advice, if you do plan to stand them up, is for you to create your pieces thicker, slightly thicker, and make them ahead of time enough that they will be cured by the time you add them to the top of the soap, because when they're cured they are actually a lot stronger, and then they don't break as easily. Now this second shape, I did it a little bit too thin, which is why on the top it's a little more fragile, and I had to cut at a different angle. but I just need to pretty much just half it, just cut it in half, and then I'm gonna add each one of these into the background pine tree. Now to do that, I'm scoring it where they are going to be, and ideally I'm just using my slice cutter. However, any tool will work. Then I'm adding water, because remember, the water is the glue that you use when you are working with soap dough. And I'm just gently attaching each of the pieces on the score lines that I made before. Now, if you were planning on using this, say for something like a Christmas soap, you could give them a more winter effect by adding some white soap, or even just some white mica paint on the tips or around, the tree, just to give it that winter look. Now, the last method is perhaps the easier one. It does have a different look, and it's similar to one that I published last year, which was a very simple cone shape. Pretty much just grab some soap dough and make it into like a bowl shape, which is pretty much the basic shape to start moss from. And then you start just rolling it, making pressure on one end so that the ball starts turning into a cone. And you just keep rolling, just making pressure just to taper one end. And this just gives you a basic cone shape, which would be pretty much the tree. And then with either a knife or a cutter, you just start slicing around the tree at different spots, just to give it the look of the leaves. And so I'm going just at different angles just to create this effect. And actually last year on the video that I posted, I didn't even do this. I just pretty much did a cone shape, and then I used white soap dough to create a snow effect, and it was also quite effective. I may post a picture of the soap that I made like that if I can find it right around here. Now in this soap, I did place the pine trees vertically. Since I'm not going to be doing that with my next soap project, I just cut it in half, and then I got two trees out of one. One half was actually quite distorted because it's kind of tricky to be doing it on one half and then you have to be holding the soap with your other. So I did do some minor fixes on it. Now the actual trunks are optional. If you do add them and you plan to put your tree vertically on the soap, then I recommend that you make them longer than what you see me doing them here, because then part of that trunk is going to go inside the soap. So if you want it to be visible, then it needs to be longer. However, I think because they are thinner than the rest of the tree, it makes breakage more likely. So if you are going to put them vertically on your soap, I will suggest to just skip the tree trunk altogether and just make your pine tree taller, so that a big chunk of the bottom will dip into your soap. But anyway, this is the end. I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions or comments, you can make them below. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye.